I guess once again we're at this place where when it comes to these Marvel Disney Plus shows, the character, who they were, source material, means nothing, and they make changes that really don't benefit the character at all. Hey, what's up, nerd fam? This is your boy Krishan. I want to welcome you to Enter the Nerd. Today we talk about the Disney Plus Marvel series Hawkeye. So I made a video prior talking about the trailer before, about how I felt like this was going to be a bit rushed based off of what I saw, and her personality was a little weird, and there were some things that I were afraid of happening. And upon watching this first 3 episodes, yeah, a lot of those things did come true. So I guess I can't really be surprised, right? Because you know, MCU and, well, the MCU, Marvel, Disney, whatever, they have pretty much been telling us who they are. So at this point, I really can't be surprised, right? It's still disappointing. And it kind of goes, there are things that they did in the show that kind of go against the message they keep on spreading, and we're going to get into that. So they did do one thing that I liked in the beginning. Well, there's a couple things, but kind of minor in comparison to the other things. So right in the beginning, spoiler alert if you haven't seen any of this stuff. So, Kate Bishop, her father, they make it so that her father dies. Well, first, before that, they say that when she's young, the first Avengers movie happens, which is fine. I'm glad they're paying attention to the continuity of the films and trying to link the other films in. And her father dies in this incident, you know, with the space whales and the Chitauri and all that, right? And I like that, not necessarily that her father died because it's not accurate, but the fact that they are talking about like how deadly it would be. Like, tons of buildings exploded out there. Like, New York should be devastated. And obviously they spoke about that briefly in Civil War, but the stupid part in the Civil War was that they kind of blamed the Avengers for that, as if they destroyed it, which didn't make much sense. But regardless, devastation. Now, during that battle, she sees that scene where, in the first Avengers, where Hawkeye jumps off the building and he's fighting the Chitauri and, you know, shoots the arrow off, and it is what it is, right? And for some reason, you know, that image sticks in her brain, and I believe it was at, like, the funeral of her dad, you know, she tells her mom, I need a bow and arrow. So for some reason, when she sees that, that inspires her. Now, to some people, that little connection might make sense. It doesn't really, right? You see a whole bunch of space whales, you see a guy fighting aliens from across the way. I'm not sure if that really makes the most sense to inspire. I need a bow and arrow. Because if you compare that to her actual source material, right? Which I know some people, it doesn't have to be with the comics. Just so happens the comic does it better. So her dad does not die, number one, which is a choice I'm not sure why they made. Her mom's actually the one that dies. And it's not in like some big catastrophic superhero related incident. Like, her mom was just kind of estranged from the family, and I think she died in, like, Colorado or something like that. And her dad was actually, like, kind of like her role model in a way. Like, she really wanted to impress him, and then when she found out, like, he was kind of a dirtbag, like, he beat the crap out of somebody, it made her kind of despondent, and, like, you know, the person she was looking up to the whole time just wasn't who she thought he was, right? And I believe she was, like, following him one time in a comic, and she got captured by someone, and then her interaction with Hawkeye was that he saved her from, like, I believe, getting kidnapped, that she was getting help or ransom, like something weird like that. Like, I'm paraphrasing, so I'm gonna have to look up exactly what it was. But he saved her directly. It wasn't like she saw him from a building fighting alien. He saved her. And even then, that's not what jettisoned her to learning skills, to like becoming all this stuff, like getting like, you know, becoming a martial artist and all that. It wasn't, oh, I saw this guy over there fighting aliens, so now I have to, that doesn't, no. What it was is, specifically, she was sexually assaulted, right? And I get why Disney would not want to go there. So let's take out the sexual part. Let's just say she gets beat up. Because we all know that people get taken advantage of physically, whether it's, you know, like I said, sexual or just, you know, getting mugged, beat up. People have this thing like, I don't want to be a victim again. How do I become a victim? Let me learn to protect myself, which is what she did. She learned all that stuff in response to what she went through. And who helped her through that? Jessica Jones at some point, which is great for the Netflix thing because, and just even the comic book story, she is very experienced in assault and being taken advantage of. So that's a good person if they wanted to bring Krysten Ritter back in, because that's what they've been thinking about. Put Jessica Jones in there. And not only does it give her own agency, it makes her deeper. And no, she's not this happy-go-lucky making jokes. We got trick arrows? That's not her. She's a little bit more stoic. She's kind of disconnected from people, which would happen when you see how she's raised. But once again, I called it in another video, Disneyfication, where she has to be likable and jolly and family. It doesn't have to be that. And Hawkeye is like this super serious, and she's like, you know, the foil to that. Like, you know, he's this grumpy guy, and she's just trying to get him lighten up, and that's not really the thing. Like, that's not who she was specifically. And she's a lot more skilled in the comic than she is here. Like, she's already had to get saved a couple times here, right? Now, the thing that they do with the fact that her sister is not even, she didn't even have a sister. That's another thing. She has an older sister. It's actually her older sister's wedding that the Young Avengers come, and she has to save them from a mission they had that... So I guess we're going to miss out on that whole point, or they're probably going to do that with something else. When the Young Avengers finally come together, probably won't have nothing to do with her sister. But they remove a whole other female character, right? So, if you look at it right now, I'm making this leap based off of what I've heard Kevin Feige says. I don't have any real proof, but Kevin Feige had this thing about, I don't like pretty much Doctor Strange teaching Wanda magic because he's a man. So I have to ask, so why did they switch the mom for the dad? Like, why did they change that whole dynamic? And I have to think it has something to do with that. Now, mind you, I could be wrong because I don't have any proof of that. But when you see what's happening here with the rest of the MCU, it's like, it's kind of hard not to draw that parallel, that they're going, well, we don't want her looking up to a dude. Have the mom be the primary figure. Like, we don't want her to die. Have her dad die and get him out the picture and all this. It's like, it's a little rough. And she was definitely a much better character, a much more well-developed character in the comic than she is here. And some people might go, but it's only 3 episodes. Once again, that little bit that I told you, there's no way she's going to end up there based off of who she is right now and how Disney is putting her trajectory. All right? Now, also, something to make note of is Echo. Now, Echo, the actress, is cool. She's deaf, just like the character, which is not a requirement for me, by the way. You don't have to be deaf and have the same ailment as a character. You could just be an actor who tries to portray it accurately by maybe learning from deaf people and stuff like that. You don't have to. But if she is. And she happens to be pretty much like the same ethnicity as that. So she looks like the character as well. Good. Now, the thing that was kind of weird, 2 things. One, in the comic, she has powers similar to Taskmaster. She can look at people and just get their reflexes down and just learn based off looking. Doesn't look like she has that here. Not at all, right? Because she fights Daredevil. Now, the good thing is, they seem to be linking her to Daredevil by hinting that Kingpin is like her uncle or her dad's boss, you know, when he was alive, right? But, once again, the powers aren't the same. And instead of Kingpin killing her father, which is what happens in the comic book, they have Ronin, or Hawkeye's other, you know, identity at that time, kill her father. So it takes away that whole, you know, the person I was raised by is also the person who killed my father. It takes away that whole complicated aspect, which is inside the comic and not in this one, which is, it sucks, right? Like, you take away that extra layer of things. Now, apparently they made her have a prosthetic foot because the actress has a prosthetic foot, which, I mean, I guess, but that's just not the character. The character doesn't have that. And people, like, I feel, you know, disabled people are represented. Sure, but the character doesn't have that. So it's like, if you're gonna do that, like, why would it? You could just do that with an all new character. Like, whatever. That's just me. If you don't care, you don't care, right? I will say that I think they didn't do the whole Taskmaster type of powers because they already made a woman have Taskmaster's powers in Black Widow, which was wrong. So it would almost be identical, which is stupid to begin with. They should have done what they did in Black Widow with Taskmaster, and I think it probably cost us Echo being a very similar way. So obviously we know they're gonna have this with Daredevil. This is actually a good show to not only put Daredevil stuff in, but Jessica Jones, and maybe she is. Maybe she does come in this show because that's a person who talks to Kate. So maybe she will appear in the show. We never know. But as of right now, the character Kate Bishop is not getting done justice. Like, her being this laughy, like, a fangirl pretty much, versus being someone who has gone through some traumatic stuff, builds herself up to being a weapon as her defense mechanism, and is learning to kind of open up the more like the comics go on. And even when she's with her team, the Young Avengers, that helps her cope, and even her like, you know, kind of relationship with Patriot helps her develop more too. So yeah, I'm not sure where this is going. Now, they did have Swordsman in there, which is cool, Jock Duquesne, and they had that as like her mom's boyfriend. And I was wondering, like, is his link to Hawkeye gonna be there? And at the end of episode 3, you see them come face to face. So I'm like, yes, let's see, because eventually she does get Jock's sword. She gets part of Mockingbird's costume, who isn't here yet, and she gets Hawkeye's name. But the person who gives her Hawkeye's name is Jessica Jones. So let's see if that happens. A lot is missing here. I'm not sure if the trajectory is gonna go the way that it could go. I think it's just, this is kind of bad, and the ratings apparently seem to be really bad too. So yeah, that's just my thoughts on it. So far, not good for the character, and yeah, let me know what you think. Let's talk about it in the comments. Enter the Nerd.